Hey everybody, welcome back. You're probably wondering, why is he talking about Enneagram? Can he just stick with AP? And I would love to, but recently I've had some interesting developments. I have had people come to me asking me, hey, why am I seeing your idea and things that you've created pop up in other places? Did you talk to this person? Did you give them permission to share your idea? And I'm like, no, I have not. So I found out that, yeah, somebody had been using my images that I had sent them, a friend of mine, and is kind of claiming them as their own idea and that they created these images. At least claiming that they created one of them, and they didn't. So I really have just been forced into being like, all right, let me show you guys my entire idea from start to finish and where I went wrong and how I had to change it up and just like all the different ideas that I had to go through to actually get to this idea of the trifixes, or if you want to call it tri-type, it doesn't matter. It's all comes from a central idea that's embedded in the math, but we'll call it trifix just for legal sake. Um, but yes, this all stems from the idea that trifixes go back to one initial source, which is 369, or that's like the main type. Kind of, it mirrors how everything goes back to Enneagram 9 and the regular Enneagram. Like 9 splits off into 6 and 3, and then 9 also mutates into 8 and 1, 3 mutates into 4 and 2, 5, or 6 mutates into 5 and 7. I wanted to think up an idea of how this happens with the trifixes, and I found it super fascinating. So back in 2021, I thought up of all these different ways in which maybe they mutate or where they come from. This all came from my brain. I got help from nobody with this. This is all my original writings, drawings. These are all my original discoveries because it is a discovery. These are things that all came from me, and these are the ways that I have decided to show them physically. So, yeah, this does come from me. This was shared in my own Discord for AP since 2021 in July when I came up with them. And the only time I've ever showed this to other people are, of course, people in my Discord who know it comes from me, who I trust. They're not going to go steal my ideas. And then one other friend who's actually touting this as their creation. And it's funny because they're only sharing two of my um, illustrations here. They're showing this illustration here, and then they're showing this one down here. And they happen to say that, oh, this one came, I created it with a friend, which is not true. I created this alone in my room in July of 2021. And then I shared it in my Discord right after I created it and talked about the ideas. So this comes from me. And then this one came way later after. Look at all these that I messed around with. Like, I went ham thinking about all the different ways that you can geometrically move these. The person that shared this did not show you any of this because I didn't send them any of this. What happened is we were in a Zoom call and I was excited. I was talking about my idea, and the person said, "Can you please email me a few of these? I can't see them in the Zoom." So I did. I was emailed them and was like, "Here you go. Like, check them out, whatever." I didn't know that this person was going to then later on claim that they created this. They did not. They did not give me any attribution. They did not mention my name. They did not do anything that you're supposed to morally do when you know, talk about an idea. You also shouldn't be selling courses without, at least giving attribution to the person that came up with this. It came from my brain. I can prove it. I can take it to another person and show them exactly. I've got this all time-stamped in my Discord, etc. So, now you all kind of get an idea of why I'm talking about this. I really don't want to. I find this to be boring. I've already figured out most of the patterns, and I could keep going if I really wanted to, but as you all know, I have come up with my own system for the instincts, and I've made them a 9-sided system. So that is kind of where I'm putting all my energy right now, and I'm super excited about that. And you all should be excited too, because I'm going to do essay videos soon about each one of the instincts that are going to be, essay style. You guys have seen essay style YouTubers and how they do it. I'm going to do that with the instincts. So I'm in the research phase right now, just coming up with a lot of different pop culture references and whatnot, and then doing like the long voiceover and the writing. So that's going to be super fun. That's coming up soon on this channel. I know it's attitudinal psyche, but look, you guys will have fun looking at the Enneagram stuff. So anyway, long story short, this is boring. I'm just doing it because it's really annoying when somebody tries to like claim that your ideas are their ideas. That's like if I were to be like, actually, I thought of all of Psychosophy. Like Afanasyev, nope. He didn't think of any of this. Actually, that was my idea before his. I just happened to see that he did something similar to me. No! Psychosophy is the basis of AP. That theory, and I talk about that all the time. Like, I am going to always give him attribution. He discovered it, because I do believe it's a discovery. But still, that goes to him. He discovered the core theory, and then I changed it in a way that I thought was better. And I say that out loud, and that is morally how you should do things. This person, unfortunately, did not do that. And they should have, because I wouldn't have to do this. So, all right. Enough of me bitching. Let's dive in. Where did I get this idea from? Like, this one right here in the center, that's literally my original piece. So back in 2021, when I had this idea of, okay, where do the Trifixes, how do they develop? How do they mutate into one another? What are the patterns? Which ones are closest to 369 and which ones are furthest away? So then I started thinking like, okay, an Enneagram 9 mutates into 8 and 1. So what does 369 mutate into? And I'm like, maybe 369 mutates into 469 and then 269, and those are on both sides. And I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense. Because really 9 splits into like 3 and 6, and those are the other two centers. That's where it starts. And then 9 mutates into 8 and 1, 3 mutates into 4, 2, etc. So I'm like, all right, that doesn't work. I'm like, it's got to be something that's reminiscent of 369. So I'm like, what does that look like on the Enneagram? Now, as you can see, the shapes of the trifixes here, that's totally that's already been discovered. You can literally just draw that on the Enneagram. It's very obvious. Everybody knows this. It's been talked about forever. Now, what has not been talked about is how you could map these out and what it would look like, and how each of them, again, mutates into the other, which ones are more rare, which ones are more central, etc. That's where the original discovery or original idea came from me, is, all right, I want to map them out, and I want to show which ones turn into which ones. So I did that. So what you see here is my original thought was like, okay, 369 is a triangle. What else is a triangle? 258 makes a perfect triangle as well. And so does 147. So we already see a pattern here. These have to be in the middle because they are the mutations of the full triangle. If you just slightly turn the triangle right, you get one, and if you just slightly turn the triangle left, you get the other one, 147 and 258. So I'm like, all right, perfect. This is the basis. Now, how does this mutate into the next trifixes? Like, what do we have to change for each of them? So this was actually my first idea here, and it's wrong. So I want you to see my process of being wrong, to know that it came from me. And I was like, all right, well, 258 and 369, how do we combine these to make another trifix? And I'm like, maybe like 259. I'm like, no, because that's two hexad types, 2 and 5. We don't want to go crazy away from the center types. We just want to go one away. I'm like, let's start with 9. Let's move away from 9, and let's do like 368. And then let's do 361. So left and right. That makes logical sense, right? So I'm like, all right, 368 evolves from these two when you combine them. And then 136 evolves from these two when you combine them. I'm like, perfect. I figured it out. Now it makes sense. All right, the end. Okay, this is where I went wrong because now if I were to combine these two, 368 and 136, you can't do it. Like I postulated, well, maybe it's 378, but that doesn't make any sense because where did 7 come from? We're just going to choose to go the direction of 7 from these two sixes. Like you also have to think about there's 5 on the other side. It's got to balance out. It can't just be like a lopsided Enneagram. There has to be balance within it. I'm like, all right, well, we know 378 has 278 and 478 on both sides. That makes sense. They're both triple hexad. There is no center types in there. And they're centered around 3 because it's 2 and 4, and that the logic checks out. So I'm like, I know this is right, but this isn't right. 368 and 136 shouldn't be next to each other in the same center. I'm like, all right, what the heck is going on here? So then I thought about it more. And I'm like, okay, 368 probably is going to turn into 468 because that 468 is what do I call it? Is a symmetrical type. So it's a symmetrical, you can see it over here. See how 468 here, it's symmetrical. You can draw a line of symmetry down the middle here. And it's got 6, and then it's got 4 on one side, which is 2 away, and 8 on the other side, which is 2 away. Both of them are mutated from their center towards the 6. So I'm like, all right, that's actually balanced. And if we look at 368, see how when you draw it out here, it's kind of leaning on one side here, and then 469 would be like its reflection almost. If you drew a line through 468 here, that line is a line of symmetry that reflects 469 and 368. So I'm like, oh, let me put 469 in here instead. And that makes more sense because what we're doing, let me just put it here so I can make more sense. That makes more sense because if we put 469 here, what stays the same between these two? It's 6. So we're looking at how we go down the line of all the trifixes that have 6 as the core component. So on the 368 side, we mutated 9 towards 8. And on the 469 side, we mutated 3 towards 4. And also, when you look at the two sides here, this one has 4 in it and 6 and 9. This one has 8 in it and 3 and 6. So as you can see here, 3 and 9 are kind of waffling around. Like 3 disappears in this trifix, and then 9 disappears in this trifix, but 6 stays there. So what I figured out is, okay, this is the 6 family of origin for the types. These are all 6s. And then I realized there's another step in here. There's more types because you've got to get the 2 types with the hexad types in it as well. So with 2 hexad types, so 146 and 268. 278 and 478, that's triple hexad. I skipped a step and I started to realize that. So then I started to draw out like how it would look here if we just like made it go all the way. Sorry, I'm trying to scroll in here. I'm like, all right, what would it look like if it just all branched out? So then I started to build this thing and looked at like the very edge, I'm sorry, the very end being the 4 types, and then moving in more towards the more hexad type. So I kind of did it every way you can think of it imaginable. And that's when I started to realize like how they actually do evolve, and I color coded them to show how each of them changes. So obviously here's the 6 line over here, 369, 147, 258, and then I showed how the 3 and the 9 are the ones that go down. 6 stayed in black because 6 stays all the way down until you get to the 2 hexad types here, full hexad types. So you can see how 6 is present in all of these, and how 147 and 258 manipulate it towards their centers, and which makes sense because if you look here at this, 147 is this line over here. 147 pulls these types towards it, and then 369 is up here, and it pulls these 3 types towards it. So I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Like, now it makes sense why these match up with 258 and why these match up with 147. They're the ones that are being pulled towards that center. So then I just followed the same logic for 9 and 3. I'm like, all right, if 9 stays the central type here, that means we need to change 3 and 6. So 3 mutates towards 2. We've got 2, 6, and 9. And then for this side, I'm like, 6 mutates towards 7. So we've got 3, 7, and 9. And then if we take the 2 hexad types and combine it with 9, we get 279. And that's where 279 is the symmetrical type that lines up with 9, or 369. And now I'm like, all right, now let's pull down. You're probably like, well, where the hell did the 5 come in now? Now it's, all right, we got to pull from 258 again. So 7 is in the head center. The other side of 7 is 5. So 259. We've already got 2. See how 2 is starting to make itself known over here? And then 8 is kind of just absent because we're in the 9 center. So you're not going to see 8. It's going to be 9 all the way down. And you're not going to see 1 either. It's going to be 9 all the way down. So that's why these are in red. They just show up in the original 3. Anyway, yeah, this leads down to 259 and 479, and I'm like, all right, now we have to balance out the 2 hexad types since we've got 4 and 5 present, and we've already done 2 and 7. It's here. So now we'll bring down the 4, 5. It's like playing Plinko or something. 4, 5, 9. And now it's like, all right, how does 4, 5, 9... Now you can finally change the 9 because you need that triple hexad types. I'm like, all right. It goes left towards 458 on the 258 side, and it goes right towards 145 on the 147 side. There you go. It's beautiful. And I was like, I found this amazing thing. I discovered these amazing patterns in math, and these probably have to do with the trifixes. And I'm like, that's awesome. So I started to blab about it because I'm not somebody. Look, here's something about me. I know people have claimed like, oh, AP website, it looks so commercial, like he just cares about money. I don't make a lot of money. I do not make a living off of AP. Am I headed in that direction? Yeah. Eventually I'll get there. I'm not a business person. I don't care. I don't want to make money. I don't want to turn it into like a huge power mongering business. Maybe down the line, that's where I'll end up, and I won't mind. I mean, I love doing it, so I'll do it. I'm a 7 after all, but what I don't do is I don't really protect my ideas a lot because I expect the people that I talk to them about are going to respect that and not just go steal them. So I was not prepared for somebody to out of me to take my ideas because I shit out ideas, for lack of a better word, all the time. That's just what I do. That's who I am. I'm very visual, so I can just see how you can rearrange visual things. And I'm also extremely realistic, so I want to tie them to reality. I'm not really like an expert here in Trifix and Enneagram. Like, I'm getting there, but I can't tie it to reality. So that's why I'm like, I just let it go. Like, it's not useful to me anymore. I just let it go. But if I see somebody isn't going to give me proper credit and talk about where they got their idea and is going to fib and say that they created my work, I have to correct that. Sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. You shouldn't have stole my work. But anyway. So yeah, this is where I came up with, this is like one of the original things that I did, color-coded and everything. I didn't send this one to anybody. So nobody has seen this. Well, actually, I did send it in my Discord, so they have seen it, but I didn't send it to the person who's claiming, so obviously they didn't show this. They just said, oh yeah, I came up with this. They actually said I came up with this one right here. You didn't, because this is based off of this, just inverted. I flipped it and I played around with it. As you can see, look at all these different iterations that I played around with. I did so much stuff. I like flipped the 478 and 278 around, and then I just put it. This was actually way after. This was like a few days later after I played around with everything. And this is one of the ones that I sent to that person. And look, I even put it on the what's this called? The Kabbalistic. I can't remember what it's called, but and I even like set them all here, made it look like a tooth. And then this is actually the original that this is the one that I settled on after a while, but I tried this, looks like a damn Triforce. I tried this. And then I did this, which is another thing that was never talked about. I put all the Trifixes on like a full, like, this isn't even an Enneagram. This is a 27-sided polygon. And then I showed how they all connect to one another. That's another thing that this person did not know that I did. And I did that by looking at how they're all laid out on this map over here. So again, you can see how these are my ideas. Nobody, they've never talked about this. They don't know it because I never sent it to them and I never talked about it with this particular person. And look, I even tried all these other iterations just to see if maybe I was wrong. And I came up with this one being the correct one because all the, look at this beautiful pattern. I even broke it down into like the leading types of each Trifix. So I have done a lot with this, and this would take me hours to explain to you how I got there, but it was all just from my own brain. And then over here, I even tried putting it on a triangle, and I was looking at, you know, how it breaks down, and then I show how there's primary, secondary, tertiary types. And I've actually talked about this on TikTok. I deleted that video a long time ago, though, because it was boring. So yeah, you can see how these are all my ideas. I put it on a square for some reason. And then I was checking out like the three different, like if maybe there was three different Enneagrams where you could put, like, I've tried so much different stuff. And here I was messing around with the instincts, like drawing out more of how I thought it worked out. This is literally all my work. You can see I was putting it into cubes to try to figure out some of the math of like the numerology. That's if you like add the numbers together. You can see where I did that here and figured those out for myself and put them in the order of, that actually helped me figure out how the types were ordered. Again, this work all came from my brain. This was me doing this in 2021. I don't know how many times I have to repeat that. Just like seeing all the different ways that you could do the numerology and add these together and create these like these triads of the trifixes. You know, this is like 268, 479, and 135. Like, what is that triad? How is it symmetrical? Does that have anything to do with it? This is all just theorizing the core math here, and this is just doing the numerology and seeing all the different trifixes that kind of happen when you just keep adding and adding and adding and adding the numbers together. And this looks like schizophrenia, but this is how you kind of come up with patterns and ideas. I don't even know what this is. I'd have to think about it, figure out where I was going here. Yeah, there's something good there, but I can't remember. Oh, here's where I actually started to do the different triads that are located. I mean, this is all super. This person would love to get their hands on this, and maybe they'll watch this and they'll see that like I have a lot more here, and they'll steal some more. But yeah, this is these are the different areas. Oh, these are the spaces between the types, so like where they shoot out at. Like 6 shoots to 1 and 2, so this is where 6 is, and that's kind of like the morality line. 3 shoots towards 7 and 8, which is like chaos area. These are actually areas which Enneagrammer, if you guys know them, they talk about areas. This is like my own take on the areas and what they look like, which I never did anything with. Because if my idea can't glom onto something real, I'm not going to create it into something. This is just the core fears, I think, that I came up with. So yeah, short video, 25 minutes. I just wanted to put this out there. These are my ideas. They originated from me. And they may very well be a discovery, which is fine, but again, I'm the one that discovered it, so it would be great to have um, attribution, but obviously that person hasn't done it yet. So, um, yeah, I hope you all get something interesting out of this. And, this is me releasing it to the public, so do whatever you want. But just, I prefer if you say, oh, yeah, this is the idea. If you use one of these diagrams or you use these ideas, especially this one here, please give me attribution. Because, yeah, these do come from me and this is my unveiling of it. So, all right, everybody, thank you for watching. And sorry this is such a random ass video. I wasn't planning on making it. And I will see you for the essay videos for the expanded instincts. And the first one I'm going to start with is self-management. So I hope you will enjoy that when it comes out. Bye, everybody.